recommend Jay Wiseman, head women's tennis coach at Eastern Michigan University. Jay, thanks for joining today.
Hi, you're welcome. I'm really glad to be on the podcast.
So first and foremost, I have to say I'm impressed with the job you've done with the women's tennis team at Eastern. You know, every year since I've known you, everything just keeps getting better and better. And I think it's a tribute to, the fact of your coaching, your knowledge of the game, and the passion that you have for coaching. So it's exciting to watch you guys from the distance.
Yes, I appreciate it. It's a lot of hard work, coming up through the ranks as an assistant and then starting at a lower level mid-major and then moving here to Eastern and going through the program, getting cut and then rebuilding again. It's definitely been a journey, one that I don't think anybody's quite prepared for until you go through it. But I really appreciate it. We worked hard and we got a really great group of players that work for each other and really like to work hard. And so that's kind of the basis of everything we do is in looking for those types of players. And it makes it easy to coach when you get players that want to work hard and reach successful, plateaus within their career.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I like that word, the journey, because not only is life a journey, but tennis coaching is definitely a journey with many ups and some downs. And thinking about some of those ups and downs, I'm always fascinated by, how each coach is navigating, being in a pandemic and coaching, in a totally new way. And I'm just curious to learn about you and how you've been able to navigate, both recruiting and coaching in and through a pandemic.
I don't think any of us, anything that we've gone through has ever prepared us, for what we're doing right now. I honestly have no idea how I've gotten through it. Like, being completely honest, I think we're all just kind of winging it. My wife obviously is a huge support, and having 9 kids to deal with at home, helps you to kind of manage a team of 9 or 10 as well. And I always tell kids when I'm recruiting them that I'm going to treat them the way I want someone to treat my kids as a coach. So I try to handle all my interactions with them, keeping them positive, trying to be supportive, both as a coach, as the leader of the team, and kind of as their surrogate parent, because we have a lot of international players. So we're almost exclusively international. They're thousands of miles away from their own parents. So kind of being that additional father figure. So it's really like I've got 18 or 19 kids that I'm working with on a daily basis. I think the hardest part was when we were doing a lot of remote work, not being able to see them, them not being able to play over the summer, and just trying to find ways to connect with them. Even just simple Zoom meeting to say, hey, I'm here. How are you guys doing? And being able to use those times to keep them connected with each other, and then trying to navigate the fall, coming back without playing competitive matches or tournaments, and just finding ways to keep them engaged with the process. I think that's the hardest part of these players, is to have all of these practices day after day after day, for months on end, and no competition. I mean, that's what we do this for, is we want to compete. We love to compete, and we want to find those opportunities. I think that the UTR and ITA did a great job with the fall circuit, at least giving some kind of competitive outlet. I think just keeping the kids motivated was the hardest part. And, for me, coming from a mid-major background, recruiting actually hasn't changed that much. I think that a lot of the big schools now are kind of getting a taste of what we at the mid-major Division II level have been doing for years. All of it, all the YouTube videos and talking to people via Skype. Back in the day, I guess everybody's on Zoom now, or Google Meet and WhatsApp. So I think they're kind of learning how we recruit and realizing that you can do it in different ways. You don't necessarily have to have the huge budgets to go to Europe and Asia and Southern Africa to find all these players. You can do it from home in a fairly economic way.
Absolutely, yeah, that's a really good point. And I remember you do have nine kids, and probably not so little anymore. I'm sure they're growing fast, but just how you've adapted and taken in, your players since they're so far from home. I mean, I'm sure it keeps you, it reduces the amount of sleep you get, but I'm sure it's very fulfilling and rewarding at the end as well.
So that's one of the things I love about coaching, is just the opportunity to give back. I've had some really good coaches in my life, and I've had some bad ones too. But you take lessons from all of them. You kind of develop your own coaching style based on the things that you like from your favorite coaches, and really try to avoid the behaviors that you saw in the coaches that you really didn't interact with well and enjoy. And so I've tried to carry that over, and it's actually one of the reasons why none of my kids play tennis is I don't want to be the coach for them. I don't want to be coach dad. So I try to avoid that as much as possible. But I also don't trust anybody else to coach them. They've missed out on tennis, but they've had a chance to excel at some other sports. And my oldest now is 18. She's gonna be a freshman next year in college.
Wow.
So she's a basketball player. She's gonna go to Owens Community College to play basketball. So super proud of her. She's succeeding in spite of her dad's lack of athletic ability. I'm certain she gets it from her mother.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I mean, yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with what you said there. One of the things from my perspective that I'm always curious about, and was big for me when I played back in the day and was a grad assistant and did those things was goal setting. And to your point you made, like keeping people motivated, like that's a job in itself, because you could prepare all week for a match and then you get to the match and it's canceled. Like, it's just, we've never seen things like this. So it has to be hard mentally on a lot of different players. So as you look at setting goals for your team, has that shifted? What does that even look like for you?
Yeah, goal setting is always an important part of every season, and being realistic, but also optimistic in how you're planning your goals. Obviously everybody wants to win championships. Everybody wants to play in the NCAA tournament.
Sure.
I think, for a lot of teams this year, the goal is just to stay healthy and not to get Corona and get shut down.
Yeah.
We're fortunate. We've been, pretty good as a team in terms of our testing and not getting the virus. So, hopefully, knock on wood, that continues. But for us, it's just setting realistic goals. For the next match. If we get to play the next match, we're gonna do these things to try to win those matches. We had a match get canceled this week, and we were supposed to have a doubleheader in Butler on Wednesday or on Sunday, and we found out Wednesday that we weren't going to be able to play. So instead of 4 matches this weekend, now we've got 2. So now we got to focus on our matches today. Try to win those matches, win that day. So kind of just trying to win every day, win every week, and not try to focus on our matches that don't end until May. I think that becomes too much of a big picture in a pandemic that you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot, because it's like take it day by day, right? Like take it one practice at a time, one match at a time, and things are changing so quickly. I mean, your perspective and how you look at that, I think is perfect. For me, I'm like, to your point, I want to win the MAC championship, or I want to go to NCAAs and do all those things. But hey, let's just focus on the total process of what it looks like to get there, right? And just take it one match at a time. And if we can stay healthy and if we can play well, we'll be right where we need to be. And I think to your point on health, I mean, if you stay healthy, that's more than half the battle this year. And it usually is a big piece of the battle, keeping people healthy in terms of injuries. But now there's a whole nother, segment that you have to consider this year, right?
Yeah, so we're actually in a position. We've got 2 of our scholarship players who haven't played a single point for us this year. And we don't know when or if we're going to get them back this season. So for us, staying healthy is even more important. Because we don't have those players available to us. And so for me, managing everybody's workload every week and just getting better every day. And I always tell my players, you're going to lose. Every player is going to win, every player is going to lose. And if you look at your career over the course of it, most people end up probably about 50-50. Most of your great tennis players, they're going to finish 60-70% win percentage, but the average tennis player is going to finish about 50-50. And as long as you give me everything you've got every day and you work to the best of your ability and you're trying to improve, that's what we're about. And if you do those things, eventually you're going to get better. And I always tell my players and throughout the recruiting process, I'm not here to squeeze every last ounce of tennis out of you. That's not my goal. I want every kid to graduate. I want every kid to get as much improvement as they're able to, and with the effort they put into it. And I want them to be a better person when they leave here. And so if I'm doing those things, that's way bigger than tennis. And I think that that's one of the things that the pandemic has kind of put into perspective. This is just sports. There's life. That's a lot more important. And there's a lot of people that don't have that anymore, because of this. I know that, my family's been affected by the pandemic. We've lost a couple of family members. We're older. And so if we can protect ourselves, protect each other, protect those around us, and do some good, on the court as well as, away from the court, I think we're accomplishing what we need to this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that was one of the things I wanted to touch on next was the setbacks, right? And I think excuse me, at this point, we've all, had some setbacks, especially as it relates to COVID with family and friends and things like that. But for you as a coach, how do you continue to push forward? Like what drives you to continue to move forward?
Love of the game, love of my players, and just love of what I do. This is a great job. We as coaches have, I think, one of the best jobs in the world because we get to be involved in a sport that we grew up playing, that we've competed in, we've enjoyed, and we're working with kids who hopefully have that same joy and drive to compete. And so we get to give back to the younger generation and continually push. So every 4 years, essentially, you're pushing through another crop of yourself, hopefully through the game and out into the world. And hopefully they're making the world a better place, whether they're choosing to contribute by going back and coaching themselves or going out into the world and doing whatever their major was and contributing that way. So for me, every day it's just waking up and getting a chance to contribute and continue to do what I love.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. And I think for me, it's the same thing. It's like do more of what you love to do. And that makes the bad days, bearable, right? But if you hate what you're doing already, then the bad days they're have been there. They get pretty rough. So
my mom always told me, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
I really aspire to that, and this job really gives
I'm gonna
me that
hang
chance.
that on the wall. That's gonna be my quote of the year. Yeah, do more of what you love. I like that. One last question for you, and I know you gotta get going. You got matches coming up, but as you look at the pandemic, when people watch this, what's one thing that you've truly learned by going through, the last 12 to 18 months as a person, as a coach? It could be anything.
That's a good question. Relationships matter. Your relationships with your players, with your coworkers, with your bosses, with your children, with your wife, spouse, significant other, partner, those things matter, more than anything else that we're doing. How you affect your relationships with other people, how you interact with them, who you are as a person matters more than just about anything else. And what you're willing to put into those relationships and give back are really what are going to define you as a person. Those are what people are going to remember. I found myself putting more energy into my job than I was into being a dad sometimes, being a husband. And I think that the pandemic has kind of pointed some of those failings out to me and have allowed me to try to work on being a better dad and better husband. But it's also helped me to kind of organize my time better, use it more efficiently when I am doing my job, coaching, recruiting, because a lot of times it can be all consuming. So finding ways to be a better person in all of your relationships is really what I've kind of taken away from this whole experience.
Yeah, no, and that's good because I haven't heard many coaches touch on the relationship aspect, and I just think that's so key in a time like this, is building as well as keeping those relationships going, because one, things are changing so quickly, but two, just having that base will only help you for the future. So yeah, I couldn't agree more with you there. Spoken like a true veteran coach.
Also, I'm now one of the old guys, so I'm not getting any younger. And I tell my wife every morning when I wake up and something new pops or creaks or cracks that I may not be an old soul, but I've definitely got an old body.
It's
every year I do this.
I like that
learn
because that's
something
true.
new.
Yeah, every time you wake up, I mean, like I'm doing yoga, I'm doing all these things in the morning because yeah, I mean, it's now important, right? In my 20s, none of that stuff was important. In my 30s, it all matters. So
So now you know how I felt back when we were teaching at Toledo Tennis Club. You were the age that I was back then.
yeah. It changes fast, but the journey is amazing. Um, this has been great. I've always thought highly of you as a coach. I mean, we've hit many times back in the day. So just to see how you continue to progress and how your team does, you know, I'm a big fan of you guys at Eastern and the whole athletic programs there, and just hoping for the best as always.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate you having me on. Like I said, in the pre-interview, I'm a big fan of Toss and Spin. I follow you on all your social media platforms, and I hope that this whole project is a big success.